right, we're back at it, man. Once again for episode 13, Rap and Reason podcast. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Jeremy C. McCool.
And I'm Earl Hopkins. What's going on?
What's good, bro, man? How you been?
I've been good, man. It's been busy, hence why we're doing another episode virtual, but don't worry. Like we're going to be back in studio really soon, but life has been happening, moved around town, carving out some more stories both here in Philly or for Philly and beyond. I just dropped an interview with Leon Thomas that went live on Grammy.com, so that was exciting. He's an R&B artist that I'm really excited about because I know like he had to start as a TV star. So for him to really dive into, his solo career, I'm excited to see where it goes and how people respond to it. Because he just dropped the album called Mutt. So it's a dope project. And I think like our story turned out really well. So yeah, life's been good, but busy.
Nice, nice. Everybody check out that article too, man. Make sure y'all check out Earl's work journalistically as well, who are tuned into this podcast. For those of you all who like to read, you feel me? I hope everybody likes to read. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, my life been good. Same here, bro. Just busy. It's just a busy season, man.
Hmm.
October, even this being, the beginning of October is just going. October's gonna be a hectic
For
month.
sure.
Between like 10-year promotion stuff to the book to some publications that I'm working on, man. It's just it's definitely a lot, but all good stuff, man. All blessings. So I definitely would not complain. Yeah, no complaints, man. The hip hop class is going well. We're getting into some deep topics with that. This week we actually cover racism and how hip hop has spoken against white supremacy and racism. So that was we had some
Okay.
conversations yesterday with that. So yeah, man, it's been a great semester thus far. So excited to get into some of these hip hop topics, man. And one person who has really been on a tirade, man, as far as I'm not gonna say making a comeback because it's not like J. Cole ever fell off. So I don't even
Right.
say comeback, but now that the smoke has cleared with the whole Kendrick and Drake situation, we have to get into this, man. So this is the second feature that Cole has dropped within the last, what, 30 days, I'd say.
Yeah.
It really last
Hmm.
couple weeks. He recently dropped this track with T Grizzly called Blow for Blow.
Hmm.
Um, and what were your thoughts on it, man? Hearing this track, what was
Yeah, nah, it's just J. Cole in his bag. And it's like that simple for me. I mean, this man has been on a tear recently, especially after dropping that album earlier in the year. I just think he's done what I feel like Drake should have done, in the midst of this rap feud or, just challenging time. I think just drop the music and let the people's responses really speak to like, who you are as an artist. And I feel like J. Cole has really done that this go around, bro. Like he had that track with Daylight that was fire. And I feel like he followed that up with another kind of not random, but kind of unexpected feature. And I think it worked just the same way that the one with Daylight worked. And yeah, and like even with them kind of being T Grizzly in particular, him and J. Cole being very two different artists, very two different rappers, I think, you know, they came together and made like a solid track. So I actually love this blow for blow track. It's solid.
Yeah, man, and I would definitely have to agree. I think one thing J. Cole is showing here is the versatility. Like to go from
Mhm.
a song like the one with Daylight, Collard Greens, super lyrical, a lot of metaphors and triple and double entendres, and
Mhm.
just a very lyric heavy song, no drums, just
Mhm.
bare bones track and really lyrical focus. To go from that to a more hard hitting produced song with an artist like T Grizzly. I think he's really showing his range as an artist with these features, doing them back to back. I think he's really showing like, hey, I can do a song with somebody as lyrical as a Daylight, and then I could turn around and jump on a track with somebody like T Grizzly who can rap.
Yeah.
I don't want to take away anything from T Grizzly. T Grizzly is somebody who definitely is talented, but definitely a different type of rapper than a Daylight. And I think that one other dope thing that I like about what J. Cole has shown is that I think he makes him being on songs with rappers who aren't typically seen as conscious rappers or super lyrical rappers, I think that every song I've seen him get on like that, he kind of forces them to step out of their box and talk
Mm,
about a little bit more than their usual and have a little bit more substance. And that's what I've noticed, whether you're thinking about the 21 Savage collaboration with a lot, like that was some of the most substantial um, content that we had heard out of 21 Savage on that song. And I think that it's
mm,
because J. Cole was on the same thing with a Lil Durk. When you look at that collaboration, I think that he kind of it's hard to get on a song with J. Cole and not have any substance and not
right.
talk about anything. It's difficult to do. So I like that he's collaborating with these other artists and kind of making them get out of their comfort zone to a certain degree and kind of step it up with their lyrics. And I think that his performance on this song was good, man. I think it was what I would expect from a J. Cole feature. I think that it was witty lines,
Yeah.
some bars in there. And I think that this is J. Cole kind of showing like, hey, I don't want y'all to forget that I'm still one of the most dangerous ones in this hip hop thing.
For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, nah. Cole is like Yoda in that way where it's like every artist he works with, for some reason, I don't know how often he's in studio with these artists when they're doing collaborations, but I remember watching a video of him. I think he was connecting with Little Pump and just explaining to him like how his music is now affecting the youth. And I think that spawned that conversation or just his mind state at the time kind of spawned and turned that into KOD. So like I just think Cole is able to connect with these artists and inspire them in some ways to like just think more outside of the box. It kind of reminds me, because I'm a Kendrick fan. Kind of how when Kendrick and Kodak Black collaborated on Silent Hill, it's like Kodak, like no, Kodak to his credit has spoken about conscious or socially conscious messaging. He's had that in his music before. Um, like the album Dying to Live, which I love. I think that's still the best Kodak album. But yo, it just seems like with Cole and Kendrick, they're able to draw out, these layers from these artists who otherwise, not to say they don't have these tools in their toolbox, but it doesn't seem like they pull them out as often as maybe they would, if not working for them. So I loved it, man.
Yeah, I love it too, and I agree. I definitely think him and Cole and Kendrick are both able to make artists. They just able to add another element to some of the modern
Mm,
artists, which I think is
yeah.
really dope. It makes me even think of when Kendrick hopped on Future's Mask Off on a remix.
Hmm.
Was a prime example of that to me. You really saw him add another layer to a song that didn't really have any substance, but he was able
Right.
to jump on it and kind of shift the whole meaning of the song within that feature. So I think that they both had the capabilities of adding depth to other songs. Um,
Hmm.
and collaborations with some of these other artists, man. So I think, man, that's one of the reasons why we're writing this book, man. The book that we're writing
Yeah.
about Cole and Kendrick is because these two have really put hip hop on their backs for the last decade, man, and they continue to do so. Like when they're
Yeah.
not making music, hip hop isn't the same. Like it's
It's
not.
not.
Yeah, if both of them stop making music right now, hip hop will be in a bad place.
Absolutely. It's almost like the feeling because I'm not excited for this day, but when LeBron James retires from the NBA, that's almost like seeing a NBA list, like a Bron list NBA. Like I'm not looking forward to that day. I'm sure there was a spell or time period where Michael Jordan retired for the second time, done deal, that it kind of, you know, sapped a lot of people's excitement for the game, maybe even a little bit. So I think that'll happen. Or it happens with Cole and Kendrick when they're kind of dormant for a little bit. Like we need them to have as much activity because it just makes the game fun, bro. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
also, let me add in, just since basketball came up, man. Shout out to Derrick Rose, man.
Oh
I
yeah,
can't be on
yeah.
here and not say this, man. Derrick Rose announced his retirement. This is not a sports podcast by any means, so we won't get deep into this. But gotta shout out Derrick Rose, man. I want to tell a quick Derrick Rose story about when I was in high school. So when I was in high school, me and some of my friends from school walked over to a local McDonald's that was in the neighborhood. And I never forget one of my boys was like, hey man, that looked just like Derrick Rose. And mind you, this is MVP Derrick Rose. This is Derrick Rose at his peak. And one of them was like, man, that dude look just like Derrick Rose. I was like, yeah, he do. Continue talking. And then the closer we got in line, we was like, that is Derrick Rose. And I remember, man, his brother came up, chopped it up with us for a minute. He had to leave, but still said what's up to everybody, and this was like a dope moment. And I at that moment, I really was like, yo, Derrick Rose ain't that much taller than me, and he's doing this. Like, I know he's listed at like 6'2", but you know how a lot of them kind of bump up their height. I feel like he's
Hmm.
6 feet because me and him were like eye to eye. So I was like,
Hmm.
the fact that you're doing that at this size is ridiculous. So shout out to Derrick Rose, man. It was an inspirational moment just being able to see him just in such a regular setting of a McDonald's in Chicago. But got to shout out Derrick Rose, man.
That's crazy. Yeah. To see a professional athlete eating the same food as you, but you still know in your heart of hearts, it will tear you up on a basketball court or like on a football field. They're different, man. So shout out Derrick Rose. He was one of the most athletic guards in the game, period. I think him and Russell Westbrook are some of the two most athletic point guards I've ever seen play. So yeah, man, shout out to them. The
And
game
Derrick
will
Rose,
miss him for sure.
yeah, man, he was able to excite Chicago about basketball in another way that people hadn't gotten. I always tell people I wasn't able to live through Michael Jordan era. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm born '93. Mike, I was 3, 4, 5 when Mike was winning rings. Like I don't remember none of that.
Yeah.
But I got to see Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose being from Chicago and being from Inglewood, and us actually being able to like witness what he did on the court was just different. And Derrick Rose is somebody who still goes back to Chicago. I know people who he still would go to the neighborhood and play basketball with kids out there. So like,
Hmm.
yeah, just a very inspirational figure, man, and who's really been able to like not only just keep his name clean alone, being from where he's
Yeah.
from and how he's carried himself through the league has been definitely admirable and still the youngest MVP ever. So shout out Derrick Rose.
Yes, man. How fitting is it for him to get his flowers? You know what I'm saying? Now that he's retired. Look at that.
Look
You know
at
what I'm
that,
saying?
man. Full circle moment.
Full circle. And yeah, like on that note too, to spin that off, like there was a period in Rose's career where injuries kind of derailed him. But regardless of, how people felt about him, he came back um and contributed. And that's something that I think in a similar way, not the same, right? Because I don't think the baby has ever reached the heights that Rose has. But you know where I'm going with
I
this.
do know where you're
Like there
going.
was
This is a good transition. I see what you did.
yes. Yeah, we tried. Maybe
Oh, you
too
pardon out
complex.
here
But
now.
but yeah, so like the artist DaBaby took a minute, took a break away from music a bit, it seems, or just the spotlight, if anything else. But he came out with a mixtape. And he wanted it to be known as a mixtape. He dropped How the F Is This a Mixtape over the weekend, man. What's your thoughts on the project, like from listening to it?
So I've only made it to the listen to the first half thus far. So I'm
Hmm.
still working my way through it. Just started listening to it today, and so far so good, man. I think it's reminiscent of the baby's music that was released at its peak. I definitely hear some substance there too. There's some songs that are just, of course, him just rapping regular gangster, this, that, what I mean, with the baby's
Hmm.
flow. But there's also some ones that are more in depth that I've heard him speaking more so about his family, about where he's at these stages of his life, about him being canceled in the industry. So I'm hearing him talk about a lot more than just the everyday rap. So it was a lot. It's so far so good, man. Like I said, I'm only in the first half, but so far I like what I'm hearing. And one thing about DaBaby that I have to give him credit for is even in his after his canceling. And the funny thing is, man, do rappers ever really get canceled? I don't even think it's a real thing.
I
I
don't
think
think
that I
so.
think that there are certain opportunities that might be blocked as far as like commercially, but
Yeah.
you're still able to put out music and you still have a fan base, so you're still able to eat. You just
Exactly.
aren't going to be pushed out into the mainstream. And I think that's what happened to DaBaby. I think he was definitely blocked from being a mainstream forefront artist, but he's always kept putting out music. He's kept putting out freestyles, which have been dope. I like the one thing that I always stop. I might not listen to all his music when it comes out, but when I see one of his freestyles pop up on my timeline, I'm always stopping because extremely gifted as a rapper. No matter what you think about, him as what you think he is as a person, or his views, or any of that type of stuff. Or even if you don't like his music and you think his flow is redundant or whatever,
Mhm.
can't deny the fact that he can rap. Like that's one thing that you can't do. And me seeing his freestyles always pop up on my timeline, I think that's really helped keep him on people's radar to be able
Yeah.
to, in order for them to want to consume a mixtape by him. in an album by him whenever he decides to drop that. So I think he's done a good job bouncing back, to be honest. I think his career definitely took a hit because
For sure.
he was probably the most popular rapper he had a moment of like, I would say, what year was that? When Suge, that year that he came out, he was at that year, I think he had the
Yeah.
most eyes and was the most visible as a rapper for that year. Whichever year
Mhm.
that was that Suge dropped. And you definitely saw his career be impacted, post cancellation. But
For
I think he's
sure.
done a good job of continuing to roll out content afterwards.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I think Suge dropped, I want to say it was 2019, which is crazy because DaBaby was on fire at that point after Suge, and then he came out with his like I think it was his major label debut with Kirk. And it's just crazy, man. Seeing like, that moment. And I'm not defending what he said. That what he said was crazy. So, like, whether he got canceled or not, I think a break was much needed. But I think he's responded really well. And again, it's just like I think the best response, especially for hip hop fans, because regardless of what what an artist says, does, hip hop fans are some of the most forgiving fans you'll probably see in music, which could be to the detriment in certain cases. But I think in DaBaby's case, like I think his fans are open to hear his music, and the freestyles are second to none, bro. I tell people all the time, whatever you want to say, whether it's redundant, whether his songs sound the same, they blend too well together, yada yada yada. He can rap with the best of them, bro. Like there's not many people that can rap
And
on his level, dog.
if you put the
Uh,
baby in the room with whoever your favorite rapper is, you just tell both of
yes,
them rap. The baby's
yes.
gonna out rap 9 times out of 10 whoever your favorite rapper is.
For sure. And I think for him, like it's all about capturing because he has a sound. He definitely like is a staple. It's just like I feel like on Kurt and his the album that came out in 2020, where he actually made a conscious effort to try to like do something a little unorthodox or a little different in his case. I think like he just finds I think it's difficult for him to capture something that really sticks to the bone sometimes because he'll make a club hit. That's easy. He can do that in his sleep. And I think he did this on his mixtape. Like some of the songs that stand out to me are Fat, Give Me a Reason, Risha Roulette. Like I like all of those songs. Like those are some of my favorite songs. But I think my favorite song, and it's because it reminds me really of the 2019, 2018, DaBaby is Gotta Know. Like his production, like DaBaby always picks solid production, bro. Like whatever. And his flows are always there to match with it. So those are the things and elements I like. I think on the second half of the album, kind of gets a little bit too sulky. Like he's speaking to women and popping his, you know what I'm saying, popping his stuff like probably too much
So you think
because
so what you're saying is I should just stop where I am in the album and
I think you like it's good music. It's just like it's too much of the same thing.
okay.
And that's again my biggest critique of his music if I had one. But other than that, bro, I think this project, this mixtape is really solid. And I love the fact, and I'll say this and like leave you to it, but I think Ain't That a B? I think that's one of my favorite records because it actually has substance other than yo, I'm the toughest, I get all the women, yada yada yada. He's talking about like doing something for people and then not feeling as though you're appreciated in return. And I think that's a feeling that we all can relate to, not that we tallying what good deeds we do, but we always want to feel appreciated in return. And I think that's again just something that really stuck out to me. And you don't really see DaBaby really do that often, not often enough, nearly as often enough. So I think that was one of those added redeeming qualities for me for this mixtape, man. I really liked it.
I really like that song too. I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's the exact song that I was going to point at, and I think that one was a clear standout on the mixtape. And I think that it's interesting because it reminded me of there's a song by La Russell called "On My Grave."
Mm.
I highly recommend everybody listen to it. I only own I own 3% of the masters, which ain't much. So I'm gonna make point one.
3% sound like a lot.
Yeah, but it's not like a big mainstream song. It's done okay, but it's
Hmm.
a I highly recommend listening to it though. A really he talks about that exact same thing. It's kind of like it's called On My Grave because it's basically him saying like I've done all this stuff for people. I guess I have to get my flowers on my grave. You know what I mean? I'm not
Hmm.
because I'm not being appreciated for all the stuff that I've done for people. So it's a similar sentiment in that specific song. So definitely one. Ain't That a B? I definitely would highly recommend listening to. And yeah, man, and I think DaBaby's done it before, even on the tracks where he talked about his brother's unfortunate passing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has some really dope songs. Some songs that I've even used in my class. I think he has a song. He had one song. I think it's called "My Brother's Keeper," if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones that I've used in my class before when talking about family relationships and depression and suicide and all of those type of things. So he, because his brother committed suicide, that's definitely been a topic that I've seen him tackle within his music when speaking about his brother. So yeah, man. The more in depth I think that DaBaby goes, I think that that's really his bag where he's able to shine. I like the
Which
songs
is
where he's just rapping and flowing and you know popping it. That's all cool, but I think that when he adds that depth there, I think he's really a good artist, man. And you know,
yeah.
it's hard to deny that. So, and then one thing I always say is, man, talent will overshadow a cancellation
Mm.
canceling. You know what I mean? If you're talented enough and you're rolling out good music that touches people, um, people don't care what you did, man. That was a big discussion we had in my class this past weekend. It was really in depth. It was about, you know, what do you constitute? What does an artist have to do for you to not want to listen to their music, or is there anything that an artist can do to
Mm.
and music? And man, my students, it's so funny because it's almost like they started arguing with themselves because they'll say one point and then they're like, well, but except for this artist, and but yeah, and this artist did something bad, but I still listen to this old songs, but not the
Exactly.
songs
Yeah.
and it's really because of the fact that the reason why a lot of people are like that is because of the fact that their music impacted your life. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And same thing with me. Like there are artists who have been quote unquote canceled, but at the same time, if they have a song that impacted my life or that was a staple in my life or helped me get through something that I was going through, that art has nothing to do with that person. You know what I mean?
Right.
That song, and I explained it to with music, we do it a little bit more because of the fact that you're seeing these people and you're hearing their voices
Mm.
instead of like a painter or a visual artist or even like
Mm.
somebody who's in your favorite movie. You don't have those same attachments with them like you do
Right.
with music artists. You know what I mean? So I get why people do it, but at the same time, if the music is touching you, impacting, inspiring you, at the end of the day, that's what you're going to care about because that art is what's impacting your life, not necessarily the person. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And people are going to feel conflicted because, again, there's certain things you're going to let go because their talents rise above it. Like if Kanye literally dropped, despite all the wild things he said, done in the past, if he drops a fire album, which in a lot for a lot of people, he already did this year with Ty Dolla with the Vulture series, people are going to play that music. Like even his haters, detractor, whatever, like they're going to play it. So it's human nature, like to an extent. Like there's some things that are unforgivable in some people's eyes, whereas other people they're willing to let it go if they can dance to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or and even outside, I think sometimes when people can dance to it, they might let it go. But if it's a song that really impacted you, you're
Yeah.
not gonna throw that song away. Like I'll give a Kanye example. Kanye
Mm.
made a song called Roses. It's one of my favorite Kanye songs he's ever made.
Mm.
A song
Yeah.
about his grandmother being in the hospital and making it through
Mm.
and battling, I want to say cancer. And and the whole process is him talking, him literally like telling the story of him being in the hospital,
Mm.
the family coming together and supporting her in that moment, and like even talking about how like people were asking for autographs at that time while he's in the hospital grieving over his
Yeah.
what's going on. And it's I mean a beautiful song, and it's a song that helped me get through my grandma passing. You know what I mean? It was a song that I
Yeah.
used to always fall back and listen to during that time. Nothing that Kanye says changes the fact that that song helped me get through my
Hmm.
grieving my grandmother. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
because the song is its own thing. That's a piece of art. That's not Kanye as a man. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's why I
Yeah.
always say that separating the art from the artist is really because it really is separate. Like that
Yeah.
song has nothing to do with Kanye West. It really doesn't.
Like, nah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
He's just a conduit to like whatever you needed at the time. And also when I interviewed Charlamagne, he like places in my mind because I didn't necessarily think about it in the same way. until he said it. He said, "Yo, I get approached by different people, whether fans, people who just have, opposing opinions than I do. And sometimes they'll approach me and say, yo, what you said to Little Mama is crazy. Why did you make her cry?" And he's like, bro, that was 15 years ago. Like people meet you in different phases of your life. What you may give to them or offer them at this specific time, they may take with them forever and always look at you in that way. Whereas other people will see something that was bad 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they'll still carry that same feeling about you. So, yeah, you love that song that happens to be by Kanye.
And he
Or
happened.
if you're right, and if you're a Kanye fan, that song or Late Registration touched you like somewhere in that way back then, and you may still carry that, but you may not defend what he said or done in recent times, but you still hold on to that appreciation for that music. Like, I get it. Like, it's
Yeah,
human nature, bro.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
think somebody is a bad person, or I could disagree with their views, or think that what they're saying is insulting, just like his slavery was a choice comment and all
Crazy.
half of the stupid things that have come out of his mouth. But that has nothing to do with the song Roses is a beautiful song.
Right.
You know what I mean? And both
Mhm.
things can be true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that we're finally getting to a point where people are like, I don't care what some of these are. You know what I mean? If I like this song, I'm going to listen to the song. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I'm going to go buy merch. That doesn't mean I'm going to show
Right.
up to the concert and pay for, you know what I mean? I might not go above and beyond like that, but music is bigger. The music is bigger than who they are. You know what I
Yeah. But the opposing side would be they would ask, okay, where are you streaming the music? This music is helping this person's finances, like financially, it's helping them. So
mean?
what do you say to those people that feel that way?
Well, what I would say to those people is, well, two things. One of the things, and somebody brought that up in class too, and I said, well, there's a lot of people who that song is funding. What
Mm,
about the writers on the song? What about the producers? What about the engineer who worked on the song? So should
mm,
they not be able to eat and feed their families because of one person who had played a role in the song? Let's be very clear. 99% of these rappers don't own their music. That's just
mm.
the truth. The truth of the matter is most of them don't even own their music anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unfortunately, you know what I mean? But most of them don't own their music. Most of the labels own their music.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, writers are getting a cut, producers are getting all. There's a lot of people who play a role in creating an album or a song
Mhm.
outside of just now. There are some artists who just 100% create their music. Kanye is
Yeah.
not one of them. If you look at Kanye's credit list, there's 105 people on the song.
On the
So
song as writers
as
at that.
as writers,
Yeah.
so it's like for those people, it's like yeah, he might be he's profiting .001 cent off of you playing that song on Spotify, but I mean
Yeah.
what I mean, we spend money on with a lot of terrible people. We live in America. Let's be very clear.
Very clear. Capitalistic society, bro. That doesn't always compute how you think it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
If you want to get this 5 cent off of me for the song, then yeah, have a ball. But
Yeah.
that's for me listening to it. Probably in his lifetime, he's probably made 5 cent off of me listening.
Like given how the music industry works. Yeah. And what I would say to those people is like, I don't care. I want to listen to it, bro. Take it or leave it, dog.
I
Yeah,
want to hear it. Go ahead, take this .001 cent. You know what I mean?
exactly. If it matters to you.
It's facts.
Yeah. And yeah, on that note too, man, I wanted to talk about another album too. Like this artist, Tommy Richman, man. Very interesting artist. I feel like he's a could I say polarizing? Because I feel like people hate his music, people
Mm.
love his music, and some people may just be indifferent. Like, what are your thoughts? Because I feel like $1 Million Baby, Devil Is a Lie, like those were seismic songs, almost so seismic that you don't even know or recognize the artist that almost wrote and performed it. Like I feel like his songs are bigger than him at this given point. But what are your thoughts?
I 100% agree because when $1 Million Baby came out, to this day, I don't know what he looks like. Let me be very clear. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I don't either.
He could walk right by me at the grocery store, wouldn't know who he was.
Hmm.
So I have no idea. So the song definitely is bigger than who he is as a celebrity, 1000%. Because I have no idea what he looks like.
Hmm.
With that being said, I would say the music has definitely been polarizing because of the fact that it's grown at a substantial rate, especially $1 Million Baby. through social media, and it's really spread and picked up
Mhm.
steam. Now, whether it was backed by somebody who helped push it, I don't know. But I liked the first song. So when I heard Baby, I thought it was catchy. I thought it sounded different than what was in the mainstream at the moment. And I think that also stood out. I think that it
Yeah.
had a very different sound to it. So I like that song when it released. Um, I did think when the song released, I said this works for this song, but
Mhm.
I can't tell by this song if the person who made this song is necessarily talented or if it's just the production. Um,
Yeah.
that was also something that I thought of when I used to hear the song. I'm like, I can't tell if this person can actually sing
Mhm.
or at all, or if it's just a well produced song that's catchy. So this album, on the other hand, uh, had me think a little bit more deeply about that. And I want to pass it off to you, Earl. What are your thoughts about this album?
Oh man, so Coyote is the album. Um, so what I think about the interesting thing about Tommy Richman is he started out as a rapper, like he was rapping. And so he then developed this sound, I would say fairly recently. It hasn't even been that long that he's been like using synthesizers and like using vocal like pitch changers and everything else.
Yeah.
But I can only judge him based on, his present music. And I would say that this album sucks. That was what I would say, man. I like Tommy Richmond's singles. Certain people have to recognize that they are not album artists. That's not to say he can't turn into one.
Right.
That's not to actually disparage him as a musical talent in total. I'm just saying, I think he has some growing to do musically because this album wasn't really an album. It just sounded like a pack of random songs that just happened to sound similar or sound the same, even. Like, I do like the fact that he is putting his own modern touches, his own personal touches on that synth pop 1980s sound because I love it. Like I love that era of music. You know what I mean? I think of artists like to an extent, very small extent, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, and like other artists of that level, like trying to capture that.
Please do not mention them along with this
No,
song.
no, I'm not. I'm saying no.
Don't
Tommy
you dare.
Richmond is far from these artists, but I love that era of music. And for him to capture that, and mix it and blend it, as you talked about, like with like a boy bandish late 90s type of like sound, man, like it's unique. I just don't think it's fully developed quite yet. And I think that says something about just how recently he's developed it. You know what I mean? Like I think with more nurturing, he can create like a solid body of work. But right now, Coyote doesn't do it for me. The songs that I do like, one of the two songs I really like is Temptations. I think Temptations, may not reach $1 million baby, but it has potential to really have some big play. You know what I mean? And whether it's in a nightclub or like whatever it is, I think it could really make some noise. I also like Give It All. I like that song. Like it's uniquely Tommy Richmond, but it has like some nuance to it at the same time. I think songs and I listed it on my notepad and just said these just aren't good songs. And that's Thought You Were the One in Vanity. I just can't listen to these songs for very long because again, it just sounds like he's trying to recapture that $1 million baby devil is a lie song. And you can hear it because it just sounds like B-sides or
No.
skeletal versions of those songs because it just doesn't have the same magic. But I want to see how Tommy Richmond develops from this point because I think he does have something special. I just think it needs again just more nurturing behind it. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And I would agree with a lot of those sentiments. I think that I get what he was trying to do. I just don't think that it was executed well. So I think
Hmm.
that what he was trying to do is definitely make a song that has that 80s feel to it. And the reason why I was like I wouldn't say the Michael Jackson, Whitney, I would say Madonna,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe let's go that era of
Yeah.
sound a little bit. But I would say it just wasn't. So okay, so I'll say this. As somebody who really, really loves music, even though I teach about hip hop and research on hip hop, I listen to R&B probably just as much, if not more, than I do hip hop. Probably more, honestly.
Same.
Um,
Same.
And I would say, with that being said, it's hard for me to get past bad vocals. So very,
Mm,
very difficult for me
yeah.
to get past somebody who's off key or who's intentionally off key, which I
Mm.
think is what he's doing. Another artist that it reminds me of is Brent Fayez, is another artist like that, where it took me a while to really like for some of his music to grow on me because I'm like, he's off key. So it's hard for my brain to wrap around the fact that he's essentially singing wrong.
Yeah.
But I will say that when Brent Fayez's music is produced in a way that it makes sense. So that and his music is written so well that it grew on me. In certain songs, I was like, oh, I really like this song. And I
Mm.
see what he's doing by intentionally singing in a different key. But this is like a bad version of that. You see what I'm saying? It's like a great
Yeah.
value. It's the great value version of what Brent Fayez is doing. You know what I mean? And for that, it just doesn't work to me. And I think that it is. I see what he was trying to do. Like I said, by capturing that '80s synth kind of dance sound,
Yeah.
but the vocals are bad. You know what I mean? And it's hard to get past the fact that the singing is terrible on it. It's almost karaoke level singing on the
Yo,
song.
that's the perfect word for it because he
Yeah.
just doesn't like he doesn't have I just don't think he's a singer. I wouldn't even think if he's had an interview, I don't know if he has, but I wouldn't think that he would consider himself a pop singer. Although he has elements. I heard one of my friends say that he's almost like the Justin Timberlake of like rap. And I'm like, the difference is Justin Timberlake is really talented.
That is the difference. Here lies the difference. Is that Justin
Yeah.
Timberlake can actually sing.
And dance and
And listening
act.
to this album, I can't tell that he can actually sing at all.
Right.
Um, there are some catchy songs on here, I would say.
Yeah.
Like you said, "Give It All" is definitely one. Even though "Give It All" is a beat I've heard before, and it took me a while to think. I was like, I've heard this production
Mm,
before, and where I heard it was, it's an artist named Akeem Ali, who's out of Mississippi, who had a song called "Kimi Casanova." He's been featured like on 85 South Show and a lot of stuff like that.
wow.
The
Yeah.
artist out of Mississippi who has this exact same beat, except I think Tommy Richman might have sped it up a little bit, um,
Okay.
or so actually might have slowed it down a little. So that's the only difference, but the exact same production. So that I like that song just because I really like the production on it. Even though it was the production that was already on another song. I don't know if it's a sample. Maybe it's a sample. Maybe it's a sample
Yeah.
both of them used. I'm not
Mm,
really sure, but that one definitely stood out. Uh, I like Tennessee was cool. I can see that.
yeah.
I can see that one working. So there's a couple songs in here that I think could stick just because they're catchy. But
Hmm.
I could definitely tell on a lot of the songs he was trying to recapture what Million Dollar Baby was. And like I said, you just got to bring in real singers or vocal coaches or something because the singing is just bad. And to me, if the singing is bad and it's intentionally bad because that's the
Yeah.
sound that you're going for, then the writing has to be really good and the production has to be really good to match it. Like I said, with Brent Fayez, his production and writing is so good that it suits the style he's singing in. And I
Right.
think this project didn't get to that level to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely probably won't be returning to any of this at all. But I don't. But I also will be looking at the next project because I do see what he's trying to do, and I
Yeah.
really like Million Dollar Baby because I like the sound of it. So I think he was
Yeah.
able to capture it there. If he's able to make that magic happen again with different sounds, then I think it could be interesting. So I'd definitely be willing to check out another project if he releases another one. This one, no, yeah, not it.
Yo, and I'm actually looking up because I think what he has the potential to do, I think again with just more development, just more time, is capture a sound that, and I know this is kind of taboo in today's hip hop realm, but Tory Lanez with Alone at Prom. If anybody's heard that album,
Mm.
I think what he's trying to do is capture
That's
that late 80s like
well,
R&B pop
but
sound.
I agree. That's exactly what he's trying to do. The problem with it is that Tory
Mm,
Lanez is talented,
yeah.
and Tory
Yeah.
Lanez also is Tory Lanez can sing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never heard him live, but on songs, you know what I mean. He sounds good.
Cause Tory he's even limited a little, like he's just not he doesn't match up to actual R&B vocalists, like duh. You know what I'm saying? But he knows how to use whatever talent he has vocally to the best of his abilities, and I think that's why it works.
And
And
when
he
he
just yeah,
and when he can't, he puts auto tune on it to make it.
exactly. He
Whatever
knows how
step,
to tweak it.
he knows how to
Yeah,
tweak his voice in a way where it works. And even on that album that you just mentioned, same thing. Like I definitely think that this is what he's trying to capture with that. I agree.
yeah,
It's that almost high school fun, you know
yeah,
what I mean, music. Like I said, which I was happy. Like I said, when I heard Million Dollar Baby, I said, this sounds cool. Like
yeah,
I think it was the energy that I think the music industry needed at the time. But I think that yeah, I don't know if he needs to, you got to get some better people in the room to help you create
yeah,
that, because
for
whoever
sure.
was in the room for this, who said that this was it, they don't love you.
Yeah, and it is if you think about it too, like I had to find this album. I didn't really like see that much marketing push behind it. So maybe again, this isn't like maybe an official release. I don't know. But I just he's only 24. I see him making
Oh,
more
I didn't realize he was that young.
yeah, and I see him making more structure, more just palatable songs in the future, man. I see it, especially with him being under Brent too. Like I see Brent maybe pushing him to try to do more or just more structured and just more sound music, just making that.
I
Um
didn't realize that until you told me that earlier when we talked
hmm
that he was signed to Brent Fayez, and I was like, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense of why I hear the influence of Brent Fayez on his music. But
hmm
like I said, I get what he's trying to do, and I think if he's able to recapture it and just do it, just do what you're doing, just do it better.
100%. Exactly. That's all he needs is that push and just that maturation. Like I think that's all he needs for real. Because he can make a hit. That's unquestionable. He can make a hit, but can he make a second or third or fourth? Like that's what I want to see out of him. So yeah.
Absolutely, and just get some real musicians around you. You know what I mean? I don't
That
know.
might
I
help.
hate to say it like that, and like I said, I don't know. Maybe he is working with real musicians, but it didn't sound like it on this song.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it definitely does not sound. This was a pretty nice. We were pretty nice on this
I
review.
opened it by saying it sucked. I don't know
Okay,
how
maybe
nice
not.
that was.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. If you're watching this, don't rewind to that part. Just take the flowers that were inevitably dropped later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, that wasn't it. I ain't never listened to that. I blame you. By the way, Earl is the one who made us review this. Yeah, this
Yeah,
was
man.
my idea.
Yeah, because then you have viewers who only think we listen to what we think we'll like. And that's not true. We got to put
Oh,
ourselves through the gauntlet sometimes sonically, bruh, because we
yeah,
know y'all want to hear our views on it.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's what makes this podcast great. Is that sometimes we listen to things that are outside our comfort zone, and
Hmm.
which we listen, even though we have a lot of the same musical interests, we also have some that are different. You know what I mean? Just because
Yeah.
a few years apart age wise, and we have some different interests with music. So there's gonna be some songs that I'll listen to that Earl might not necessarily have usually listened to, and
Hmm.
same thing vice versa. So I think that it's cool that we're able to we're gonna touch on the hip hop that we love, of course, but every now and then we're gonna dive into a new album that we wouldn't typically gravitate to. I mean, I definitely
Facts.
this was one of them because I would have never clicked this album if
Yeah, man. It was interesting, but Tommy Richman, I see the talent, my guy. Keep going. Yeah.
you, at least you see it. I hope to see it again. I saw a good song. I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man.
no.
All right. Another topic we gotta talk about. So
We
I
gotta shout out
know
our producer first. Let's
we
shout
have
out
to.
shout out to Brandon, man, who our producer for the show, Brandon, also one of my students who is helps us put together these lists of topics that
Yeah.
we talk about each week, man.
Yeah, no, shout out to Brandon. Good guy, knows what he's doing, knows what the people want to hear from us too. And he's like musically inclined. Like he listens to certain artists that I listen to some that I don't, but it's good perspective to have because I know our listeners vary age, demo, and of interest. So we appreciate y'all and we appreciate Brandon, man. Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Mm.
What we getting into next, Earl?
Yeah, so on Brandon, one of his suggestions, let's talk about how hip hop has shaped and changed our lives. Let's get into it. You mentioned roses and helping you grieve with your grandmother's passing and everything. So I know how instrumental hip hop is to you. Like I know you to know that, but like how would you describe it? Like, you know?
So I would say that hip hop has inspired me in a lot of different ways. The music within itself, man, I would say that it reflected a lot of things I was going through in life, man. And I think that growing up, hip hop, there's never really been a time where I hip hop wasn't in my life. Like from my earliest memories, hip hop has always been there. My mom listens to hip hop. I remember my mom playing Busta Rhymes album and Lauryn Hill's album growing up. So like hip hop, there's never been a time where hip hop wasn't around me. And it's always been dope to be able to hear some of your life reflected within music, and I think that that's been one of the biggest impacts of it for me. But also, man, to introduced me to other regions and cities within music, man. As somebody who was from Chicago, yeah, I was familiar with stuff that Common and Kanye and Lupe and Twista were talking about, but I wasn't necessarily I didn't know what was going on in Atlanta. But listening to Ludacris and T.I. and all of these artists, now I was like, oh, I kind of have a sense of the vibe in Atlanta. Same thing with the West Coast. I may not have been
Mhm.
growing up on the West Coast, but because I was able to listen to artists who are from that area, hear them speak about the culture there, I think that it exposed me to cultures that I wasn't necessarily as
Yeah.
knowledgeable about. And I think that's another dope thing about hip hop. And then outside of that, man, almost every life-changing opportunity that I've gotten, hip hop has been involved in it. You know what I mean? From
Mm.
childhood. My first job was at a hip hop after school program. That was my first job, my first legitimate job
Wow.
in high school. It was a program at After School Matters. Shout out to After School Matters, a program in Chicago, not for profit that does good work. I also was involved in a hip hop children's performance group called the Happiness Club. That was from the age of like 12. You know what I mean? I met the director of that at a breakdance class that I randomly signed up for. You know what I mean? So hip hop was just always
That's crazy.
yeah. I realized very quickly I did not have the athletic abilities for breakdancing. I had the very basics down, and I was like, yeah, this is where the buck stops. I'm not gonna be spinning on my head and all that. But you know what I mean? Hip hop was always around me for my whole life. And I think that and then going from that to radio and from radio to even the academy and becoming a professor, man, hip hop has just always been pivotal in my life and just one of my biggest passions. So yeah, it's changed my life in a lot of variety of ways. The music, the artists themselves, whether we're talking about Tupac, whether we're talking about DMX, whether we're talking about Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, all of them played pivotal roles um, as far as, a soundtrack to my life, really. You know what I mean? Like hearing J. Cole rap about college. Though in my mind, I was the first generation college student, first one in my family to finish college. And I remember hearing, at least on my mom's side, and I remember hearing J. Cole's rap about college. You know what I mean? And though I had a mom who was pushing me to go, hearing him actually talk about his experiences in college kind of gave me another push to go. You know what I mean? To go to college. Oh, okay, you can be from this type of area and
Yeah.
go to college, and it definitely provided just a soundtrack uh, to my life, really. You know what I mean? Shout out to Kid Cudi for making soundtrack to my life, but it really,
Yeah. Shout out to Cuddy, man.
yeah, facts. What role do you think hip hop played in your life?
Bro, it's like I'm not like usually a person that like can't piece words together. Like that's what I do professionally. But like I think because it's such a broad topic, bro, because for me, hip hop is such an instrumental part of my life, integral part, and who I become in so many facets. Similar to your experience, my second job ever was working at a multimedia camp. It had a recording studio inside of it. That's where I fell deeper in love with hip hop. That's also when I realized, yo, I cannot rap. Like, this is not going to be my pathway. You know what I'm saying? But I realized, like, yo, this is something I appreciate so much. So, like, maybe I can make a career out of just writing about it. You know what I mean? Or just following it. So, instrumental artists for me was Kanye West, was Kid Cudi. Later in my teens, it was Travis Scott. I know that's random, but
No.
like before that, it was Hove, it was Nas. So all these artists, I feel like who I become is pieces like without their music, I wouldn't have grown into the man I am. You know what I mean? They were far outside forces for me, but they were influences. So certain thoughts that I have are reflective of, maybe thoughts that they've had in their music. So I think it's such a they play such an integral part in my life, those artists. But within hip hop culture, I've been surrounded by it my whole life. And to make a career out of it, bro, is just like super special. And to now be a part of this podcast, even more special. To write that book, that's going to have a certain piece in my life and in your life that maybe we can't even foresee, just given how big it will be. So without hip hop, I wouldn't be the person I am. Without music, I certainly wouldn't be, but hip hop is probably the biggest portion and part in that. So yeah, man. Shout out hip hop.
Yeah, and I've said the same thing. Without music in total, but hip hop is just different, man. It impacted me differently than other genres. Like I said, I listen to R&B all the time and love it, but hip hop had a different level of impact on me just because of how deep some of the messaging is in hip hop, man. And a lot of people who say, "Oh, hip hop ain't talking about nothing." Yo, you're listening to the wrong rappers. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's a personal thing. You need to look in the mirror and say, why are you listening to this specific type of hip hop?" But
Mhm.
for me growing up listening to Nas, Jay-Z, Lupe, Kendrick, uh, J. Cole, listening to Outkast, you know what I mean? Scarface, like you listening to artists who are really, talking in depth, that the music that's both filled with pain and triumph and
Mhm.
and all the, how they made it out of their circumstances. Like if that doesn't inspire you in any way, shape, or form, I don't understand you. I always say, man, people
Right.
who don't love hip hop, I don't. There's a certain degree of disconnect between me and people who aren't hip hop. If hip hop's not a part of your life, there's going to be a disconnect between us.
For sure.
Because it's bigger than just music. It's definitely cultural. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And between hip hop and for some reason Michael McDonald, like that's all my dad played. I don't even know. Do you know Michael
Yes, I
McDonald?
do. He fired too.
He's bro, you would think he's black. Like for
I
real. He
didn't
got
know he
some
was. I look. Let me tell you. There's like three who I did not know were white until I was like high school.
that's
Michael
crazy.
McDonald's like that. What's my girl name? What's her name? You know who I'm talking about?
Marie? Tina Marie?
Tina Marie.
Yeah,
Didn't know
yeah,
Tina
yeah.
Marie was white until like I was dang near like a senior in high school by the time. And I didn't know it until I saw her perform with Rick James. And I was like, man, why is she singing Tina Marie songs? My mom was like, that's Tina Marie. I was like,
Bruh.
what? Tina Tina Marie being another one. But yeah, no, that's crazy. That's crazy that he was
Yeah.
hip hop and Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Michael McDonald and
I can't I
Maxwell.
keep
Yeah.
forgetting, ain't that his song too? I
Huh? Yeah, Maxwell too. Maxwell is one of my favorite neo soul artists. Period.
can't
Probably like male vocalist. Period. Him and Brian McKnight for some reason. Like
I
I just
love Brian McKnight too, man. Brian McKnight, man, started back at one was one of my favorite songs. I always like that.
Max.
Um, Brian McKnight, Marvin Gaye,
Yeah.
um, even a lot of like the funk stuff I really love, like Parliament and George Clinton and all of that. Like me and my mom went to see George Clinton together in San Diego at the House of Blues
What?
Ball. Oh yeah, yeah. Dope, like great experience, man. And so yeah, I'm somebody who loves a lot of different types of music. But for some reason hip hop is just a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I've grown with hip hop as hip hop is like, it's 50 years. I'm 27. So I feel like I've grown with hip hop and seen this
Fact.
evolution. Like, so it is different when you're like immersed into it and living it. Like it's dope. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's the living it part. It's like
Mm.
we were immersed in it growing up. So I think that makes us view it completely different. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you might have just missed. Did you miss the big baggy white tee era?
Nah, I was immersed into it. I had the Jabos. Well, I
Oh
had
yeah,
my yeah, where it was made out of marker and paper versus actual Jabot like clothing.
hilarious.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Jabos was expensive though. I never had no Jabos, man.
Bro, Jabos were expensive, bro. Like enough white tees, 3XLs, bro. You get through a whole pack, you like, dang, I can't afford this at
Bro, let me
7
tell
years
you,
old.
man, I was getting them white tees at the beauty supply store, bro. $3. Right? We walk right
Smart
down to the
man.
beauty supply, give me a white tall tee. 2XL. I can't wear that size now, and I was probably 110 pounds soaking wet, wearing a 2XL tall tee out here.
Bruh, it was bad. It
It
was
was
bad.
it was so
Fashion,
cheap to be
yeah.
fresh though, man. Just a white tee.
Yeah, that's all you needed, bro. Not everybody like I blame who should I blame for designer? I should blame ASAP
Kanye.
Rocky a bit.
I was gonna say
Kanye for sure. Cuddy, yeah, I blame that. And Pharrell to an extent,
Pharrell.
I blame them.
I,
Yeah.
I I agree with you because I'm gonna be honest, man. Growing up, like nobody even thought about we. At least I could say it for me. We
Mm.
never even thought about Gucci, Louis Vuitton. All that was
Uh-uh.
so out of reach and unobtainable that we didn't even like. Jordans was as high as you were getting up the price point ladder.
Facts.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
like these kids now, I'm like, man, if you trying to dress like these rappers who wearing $2,000 shoes, man, I good luck.
Good
That's
luck, bro.
that's unfortunate because we was just trying to get some Air Force Ones for $80.
Literally, and just keep them uncreased and as white as we could until we probably had to get a new pair. And even then, I wasn't trying to like trying to rock out with the black or the white pair, bro. Yeah.
My mom wasn't going. They wasn't getting it for me, so I had to look. I didn't get that until I got a job.
Yeah. Like for real. I didn't get
Yeah,
fresh until I got a job.
yeah, no, that's why now when I see these kids at prom wearing Louboutins and I be like, man, y'all, God bless y'all.
Bro, listen, I did a story where I talked about Philly prom send-offs, just the send-offs, bro. Like how they would have parties at their row home or their crib for their like their child wearing like driving in like Range Rovers and like Phantoms. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like I talked to a mom who spent 10,000 or 18,000. It was something crazy just on the send off, like and her son's suit and everything. I'm like, bro, this is crazy. But
You know what?
anyway,
There's somebody I want to say. I don't want to put this on her jacket in case she wasn't the one who told me this. My memory. I want to say my girl said this, but I ain't gonna put it on her because I'm not sure. But somebody told me, brought up a point. And I was like, dang, I didn't think about it like that. They said that they think a lot of people are going above and beyond with proms because there are less people getting married. And I thought about
wow.
that, and I was like, I never thought about it like that. But usually
Mm.
people go all out like that for a wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But now a lot of
yeah,
people aren't even thinking about weddings, so they just like, all right, we're going all out for prom. I was like, dang,
bro, that's crazy
it's a
because
crazy theory. I never thought. I had never thought about it. I was
I
like,
think in Philly, and this is kind of sad. I don't I don't want to get too dark for the pod, but like a lot of times they're excited for their child to make it and graduate high school because in a lot of the areas that they live, like a lot of children don't make it past 18. Like that's
mhm,
also a reason, very unfortunate reason.
yeah,
And a portion of that, like they're not going to college. Like less are going to college in these areas too, which is also unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of factors. I wouldn't be surprised if the wedding thing has something to do with it, although I think it's probably less. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. That's also a good point. Is it it's being highly celebrated because of the fact that especially the fact that like this is because the buck stops there. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if they're not if there's no college or trade school or anything else that you're looking forward to, I could see it. Because yeah, for us, man, we didn't do all that for prom. It was just you get a limo with your friends, and that's where
Yep.
the stop.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't nothing extravagant. Maybe some of your family came by to take some pictures, but that was it.
That was it, brother. I drove my car, a 2003 Mitsubishi Diamante, brother. I didn't have a Mustang or
Brother,
nothing.
the fact that you had a car, you were brother. Because I'm gonna tell you, I
Yeah.
had feet. You hear me? We didn't get in that limo. I was being dropped off because there was no whip in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that ain't bad. If I was whipping your own, but you said a 2003 Mitsubishi, what?
Diamante.
I don't even know
Yeah.
what that is.
Brother, I didn't either. I don't even know if it's still I don't know if they still manufacture or make it.
Let
I
me tell
doubt it.
Let me
Yeah.
tell people, man, my first whip was so bad. And this don't have nothing to do with hip hop, but it's funny. My first whip was a Chevy Malibu. It had the bumper hanging off.
Mm.
And I kid you not, I bought my first whip. I paid $600 for it.
Cool.
So that tells you everything you need to know about this car.
It
$600.
does. It does.
You have to shake it a couple times to start it. It was like one of these, like you have to jingle it like 3 times, then go. You know what I mean? It was crazy, man. Crazy.
Yo,
Humbling
it's
experiences.
yes, bro, that you never forget. And now that we're adults, we got to make up for those moments
That's
as
a fact.
best we can.
The
That's
best
all.
we can, bro. And they built character. You know what I'm saying?
They do definitely build character. If
I
you
always,
had Louis Vuitton shoes, all this early, bro, you were like as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, how can you go to school the next day, brother? I don't know. Like, how can you like go from here to like, no, you need humble beginnings, man.
yeah, you need humble to appreciate when you're able to do certain things. You know what I mean? And that's why I always think to myself, like, how I'll be. Neither one of us are parents yet. And I always think, like, man, us, we've been blessed thus far. We're still early in our careers, but
Mhm.
we're doing better, I would say, than our parents were. I don't know. I don't know. Would you say you're doing better now than your parents were when they had you? You think?
Yeah, I think my parents would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine same here. And I would say, with that being said, when we do decide to have kids, we'll be in a better position. But like, how can I still instill in them the same values that I had to go through struggles to get? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's going. I definitely think about that sometimes. Like, man, how can I instill in them the same like value and strength and like morals and all of that I had
Yeah.
when they don't have those same wants and or maybe not wants, but that same struggle that helped me
Yeah.
become who I am. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure out when we cross that word road when we get there.
Yes, and Ashley's family, if you're listening, you have no worries. Like it won't be for a long, long
And,
time.
and let me tell you, same here, brother. I have no intention of having no kids this year. You know what I mean? Or, that is not in the recent plans. You know what I mean? So
Mm-mm, no time soon. But yeah, man, another good episode, bro.
another dope pod, man. This is episode, what we at, 13?
13. Number
13,
13.
man. We racking them up, man. Make sure y'all are subscribed. If you enjoy our content, our discussions, dialogue, man, make sure you're subscribed. There's some of you all who are listening regularly who are just not hitting the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit it on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify and Apple, make sure that you're liking or rating the show, man. It helps get it in more people's faces so that more people can be exposed to this show, man. And we're building it out the mud and
Yes,
and,
sir.
and we haven't missed a Wednesday yet, and we don't have any intention of doing so. So, man, make sure y'all are subscribed, following us. Follow us at Rap and Reason also on Instagram and TikTok, Facebook. I think we just made a Facebook too.
Facebook too. Yes.
Rap and Reason. Yep. And then follow us on our personal pages. I'm at Dr. Jeremy C. McCool. Earl, you at what?
At Earl Hopkins 1_.
Yep. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. And stay tuned in, man. Big things on the way, and we'll keep you all posted with everything that we're working on. Peace.
Peace.